A man named Joe is sitting at a restaurant telling us about his work, saying that he has to travel a lot for his work. Next, we see a police car transferring a criminal for investigation, and as the criminal starts communicating with the police, Joe shoots him in the head from a nearby building with the help of a sniper gun and tells us this is what he does. Joe is seen in his apartment where a young boy comes to meet him and asks him whether he is leaving. The boy used to work for Joe and Joe gives him money for his services, but then he makes him fall unconscious by giving him an electric shock and later uses an injection of poison to kill him. Joe tells us about the 4 rules that he was taught. 1 was to not question, 2nd to believe no one, 3rd to have no emotional bond to anyone, and 4th was to know when to leave. Joe is seen at the airport leaving for Bangkok and tells us that this is going to be his last job, letting us know about the contract of killing 4 men. We see a gangster named Surat who is told by his man that Joe is the best person for this job and that Russians have admired him a lot. Surat asks him what makes him believe this much when he has not yet even met him, and he replies that he has not seen them and neither they want to see him, that is enough for them. Joe reaches Bangkok and tells us that he has also been taught to live like a ghost, which is why he uses other men to work for him. Joe goes to the night market to find someone suitable for his job and sees Kong there pickpocketing the tourists while talking to them and cutting their wallets out with the help of a blade. Joe calls him and offers a job, promising to pay 2,000 baht per day for 2 months, saying that he will have to pick and drop off a few things for him. Kong accepts the job offer and manages to negotiate the price up to 3,000 baht. Joe calls Kong to his house and gives him a new phone and tells him the rules to work with him, otherwise he will not be paid for that day. When he breaks the rule and asks him to go to Caribbean hotel to meet a dancer named Om. Joe gives him a note with a cross on it and asks Kong to show the cross to Om, which is a sign for her to give him a package. Kong goes to the Caribbean hotel and finds Om dancing with the others. He keeps looking at her constantly, as he has fallen in love with her and gets the notice of Om, who asks him about what he wants. Kong shows him that cross on the note and he is given a package by Om, after which he leaves. On his way, we see that Joe is keeping an eye on Kong to make sure that things go the right way. Soon, Kong gets the attention of the police, due to which he is not paid by Joe that day, as he has broken a rule. Joe looks at the details of his target and starts keeping an eye on him. Joe gets his bike ready and keeps waiting for his target, while on the other side we see Kong, who meets Om and gives her a package that she takes to Surat. Kong brings him the other package and tells him about a picture hanging behind Joe that is bad luck. Joe is seen waiting for his target, which is in his car, and as the car stops, Joe attacks the target and kills him with his machine gun. On his way to escape, Joe gets a cut on his arm by a sharp object and throws the gun into the lake. Joe cleans his wound and goes to a pharmacy where he meets Fawn, who is a deaf girl working at the pharmacy. She looks at his wound while Joe keeps looking at her until he leaves the shop. Kong buys a ring for Om and gives it to her. As Kong was returning with the package, he is attacked by many men demanding their money, but he manages to run from there while Joe is waiting for him. Kong returns injured and tells him about what has happened. Joe notices the package had been opened and Kong has seen the information. Therefore, Joe decides to kill him, but Kong asks him to teach him his methods. Joe attacks him with his knife but changes his mind and starts teaching him how to fight. Joe tells us that now he has become his teacher and they both can be seen practicing many things. Joe teaches Kong to shoot, and after some time Joe gets the details of his next target. After getting the details, Joe sneaks into the house of his target where he watches him in the swimming pool. As the target gets into the swimming pool, Joe drags him under the water and kills him by choking him. Kong, who was practicing, listens to the news of a notorious gangster named Pramod Juntasa and realizes that it has been done by his boss. The next day, Kong asks Joe about how many men he has killed and Joe replies that he does not keep count on that. Kong asks him whether the police know about him and Joe tells him nobody knows about him or anything, and Kong says he knows him. Joe goes to meet Fawn at the pharmacy and asks her to go out for dinner, which she accepts, and they both are seen having a date together where Joe gets to eat a lot of spicy food and Fawn keeps laughing at him. Later, Joe and Kong are seen together and Joe gives Kong a new bike. Kong goes and meets Om to get the package, and we see that the relationship between them has grown very stronger now, while Surat and his men were watching them both. Surat asks his men to keep an eye on him. Joe is seen at the market with Fawn. Kong on his way notices that he has been followed by someone and calls Joe to let him know about this. Joe tells him to put the phone in the briefcase and throw it away, also telling him about the location to meet him. Kong does this and Surat's men pick up the briefcase and take it back to Surat. As the man tells Surat about the briefcase, the phone inside rings, which is answered by Surat's associate, and Joe tells him to talk to his boss. Joe tells Surat that they had a deal and if he sees his men again, he will shoot his wife. Surat notices a red laser on his wife's head, which means that she was at Joe's aim. Joe then goes to meet Fawn's mother at their house, where he introduces himself as a banker to her mother. Fawn tells him the meaning of her name while closing the window, and we see that they both have fallen in love with each other. Joe receives the information about his third target and asks about the location of the floating market from Kong, who says that it is nearby. Kong and Joe are seen in the floating market, where Joe locates his target and points a hidden gun at him while holding the camera in his other hand. Joe's target spots the silencer of his gun when Joe was distracted by a lady and tries to escape from there. Joe and Kong chases the target on boat, and later Joe snatches a motorbike and starts to chase his target. Joe finally catches him, then kills him by shooting many bullets into his body. At the house, when Joe asks Kong to deliver the package to the club, Kong shows him the Thai politician on TV, saying that he is as good as Joe is, because he fights the bad guys. Fawn takes Joe to a Buddhist temple and shows him how to pray. In the evening, Fawn gives a letter to Joe, saying that she is happy to be with him. But then Joe is attacked by two men who he manages to kill easily. Fawn did not see why Joe killed these men and is afraid of Joe, then runs away. Joe keeps ignoring Kong and gets his last job, and the target appears to be the Thai politician. Joe recalls what Kong has said about this politician, that he is a good man. Joe starts to locate the position to complete his job, telling us that he has two options, either to run away or to go away rich. He also states that killing a politician is easy, but getting away with is the real deal. Surat, on the other hand, decides to kill Joe, Kong and and his man goes to capture as Kong leaves after meeting her and taking the package. Joe keeps looking at the poison injection, and Kong comes there to deliver the package to him. Joe calls him and asks him to meet him tomorrow. Surat's men keep torturing and warn her of doing the same to her sister if she does not call Kong. Calls Kong, who tries to fight the men but stops after looking at Surat asks him to tell his location of Joe, otherwise he will torture Joe is seen at the location to kill the politician, but he looks at the Thai people who loves him and recalls what Kong has told him about this guy. He decides not to shoot him, but then he is spotted by one of the police snipers there and manages to escape by getting into the crowd. He steals a camera and starts pretending to be a photographer. Joe is then seen at his house, packing his stuff to get out of there, but then Surat's men arrive there to kill him. Joe injures them with some homemade bombs and asks them about Kong. One of them denies telling him anything, and Joe shoots him, while the other one tells him that he is captured by Surat. Joe goes to meet Fawn for the last time, and she tries to stop him, but he does not look back at her. Joe reaches the location where Kong and were kept, then kills some men. As he goes upstairs, he has to face the main associate of Surat, whom he kills with the help of a bomb, then rescues Kong and Kong apologizes, saying that he had to tell them about him. Joe asks Kong to get out of there, telling him that he is going to kill Surat, who is going to be his last target. Joe chases Surat and manages to kill his driver, leaving him stranded there inside the car. Bangkok police also arrives at the scene. As Surat tries to pick up the gun, Joe catches him, and after that Joe is seen sitting inside the car taking Surat to his gunpoint. Joe realizes that he has been shot and is not going to make it out alive. As the car starts moving towards the police, Joe keeps Surat's head with his head and shoots himself, killing Surat with him, while Kong keeps watching this all unfold.